Americans knew him as Archie Bunker. In 1995, Carroll O'Connor received a life-changing call. Hollywood lost the four-time Emmy winner overnight. The biggest TV star started appearing in courtrooms instead of on screen. He faced drug dealers. He passed laws in 17 states. What anguish made America's favorite father figure retire forever? The answer may surprise. Carroll O'Connor was born in Manhattan on August 2, 1924. Deep Irish Catholic origins flowed in his family. Father Edward was a lawyer. Teacher Elise was his mother. Carroll was the oldest of three boys. Hugh, a brother, died in a 1961 motorbike crash. Another, Robert, became a New York psychiatrist. The family prioritized education. Carroll's Irish Catholic upbringing shaped his life and his characters. While the Great Depression devastated millions of American families, Carroll grew up in Forest Hills, Queens. Poverty-free place. His father's law practice survived, and the family lived in a comfortable single-family home. Forest Hills was a planned upper-class neighborhood with clean streets and Tudor-style residences. Carroll was unaffected by the 25% national unemployment rate. He never starved, never lost his house. Having to play working-class roles years later contrasted with his ease. Not only did he learn about the socio-economic gap, but he lived on one side of it while the country disintegrated. Carroll had a rough start to school. He skipped kindergarten and started first grade at 5. His jump put him behind early. Class expectations were too much for his intellect. Teachers complained he asked too many irrelevant questions. He was smart, yet hard to instruct. At 11, he had been held back once. He finished high school at Newtown High in Elmhurst, where he did well in literature and history, but never excelled. His hardships made him feel like an outsider, but they also taught him to observe people, which made him a brilliant actor. Carroll moved to Wake Forest University in 1941 from Queens. His age was 17. The South was unlike his world. War broke out before he could settle in. On December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor was attacked. Carroll wanted to serve. Applied to the Navy Air Corps in early 1942. They rejected him. He had poor teeth. 3 molars were gone, and his grades were low. That rejection hurt. Back then, military duty required masculinity, and Carroll didn't qualify. Still, he persisted. His time at the Merchant Marine Academy was brief, too. He joined the National Maritime Union in 1943 and became a merchant seaman. He crossed the North Atlantic, the Caribbean and Mediterranean in the final harsh years of war. Every trip was risky with German U-boats, but Carroll persisted. He watched the war from water. That danger, remoteness, and isolation stuck with him. Later, as gritty, world-weary figures like Archie Bunker, he showed that unvarnished truth. Things changed when he returned home in 1946. Once a respected New York lawyer, his father was imprisoned in Sing Sing for fraud. Carroll never disclosed that. The family hid the scandal. In Forest Hills, Queens, they owned a nice home and were Irish Catholic. Carroll was the oldest of 3 sons. His brothers practiced medicine. Hugh died in a 1961 motorbike crash, and Robert became a psychiatrist. Carroll may have been a lawyer like his father. After the conflict and his family's trauma, he changed his mind. He refused what others had. His family's newspaper, the Irish Advocate, hired him. The paper began in 1893, linked Irish Americans for nearly a century. He reviewed events, attended Irish events, and wrote. People remembered him with a notebook at those events, often with his mother. He was anchored by his unglamorous work. It also taught him to write and observe, which would help him on stage. Carroll made another surprise shift in the late 1940s. Some believe he attended Montana State, but he attended Montana University. He initially joined a fraternity but didn't study drama. He also met Nancy Fields there. She did lighting, makeup, and everything else behind the scenes on student productions. English and drama were her priorities, and she was brilliant and confident. Hit it off. She was Crow-Indian and revered history. They married in 1951 and lived together forever. They gave a huge gift to the institution years later, helping establish the Rocky Mountain West Center. Nancy also kept around 600 Crow-Indian pictures from 1895 to 1920 for years. Her job was equally important as his. In 1950, pack again. In this case, he left Montana to join his brother Hugh in Dublin for medical school. At University College Dublin, Carroll studied Irish history and literature. He graduated in 1952, but more transpired. Theatre became his passion. His Dublin performance as George Roberts was a humble tribute to a late friend. His decision followed him around Ireland and Scotland, as he played Shakespeare in local venues, including the Gate Theatre. He wasn't a fleeting actor. In 1953, Edinburgh Festival critics were impressed. Despite playing old roles, one deemed his work incredibly modern. But that name, George Roberts, died. An Irish theatre owner asked he remove it in 1954. Carroll was informed that the individual had worked with George Roberts and didn't want his name in his company. Carroll conceded. Carroll O'Connor was resurrected under his real name, which would become famous. In New York later that year, reality hit him hard. He was revered across Europe. He couldn't get auditions at home. Agents and casting directors disregarded him, making him feel invisible. He taught in public schools to survive. He substituted in the Bronx and Queens from 1955 to 1958. He was unknown to students, but he would use Shakespeare to turn classrooms into mini-stages. He also received a master's in education from the University of Montana. Despite a degree, his career was frozen after his thesis on Shakespeare and American politics. Years later, he said teaching changed him. They showed him how to talk to actual people who would relate to Archie Bunker. In 1958, everything changed, starting with a newspaper. Nancy, his wife, saw a casting call for a bizarre new off-Broadway play based on Ulysses. Not even Carroll wanted to audition. He almost quit. He was pushed by Nancy. He went, and it worked. Director Burgess Meredith cast him as Buck Mulligan. The Nighttown performance Ulysses was a surprising hit. It lasted 167 nights. All the actors were appreciated, but Carroll stood out. Later, actress Pauline Flanagan stated he made every scene special. That one role changed everything. He got a role in The Big Knife in 1959 after the play. He instantly became a parent. Archie would not exist without Joyce and Nancy, Carroll later remarked. He was ready for TV by 1960. He made his film debut on March 6th as serious, contentious prosecutor Frederick Katzman in the Sacco Vanzetti narrative. Nearly 27 million people watched it on NBC's Sunday Showcase. Carroll was commended for his depth and tension, not just reciting lines. A powerful man showed his strengths and weaknesses. Offers began. He appeared in 8 TV shows by 1960. In October, he portrayed a Russian diplomat and a gang enforcer in 1 week. His versatility astonished casting directors. He was known as the character actor's character actor, capable of playing practically anyone, even if few knew his name. The movies followed. Between 1961 and 1970, Carroll had 34 supporting parts. He played a severe judge in 1961's A Fever in the Blood, his first major cinema role. It led to bigger roles. He played a wild-eyed commander who stole every scene in Kelly's Heroes, 1970, and even made up the famous statement, "Kill it with negative waves." His roles weren't always serious. Also, comedy was natural. He starred in Cleopatra with Elizabeth Taylor, In Harm's Way with John Wayne, and Hawaii with Max von Sydow over the decade. He almost played Gilligan's Island skipper and Dr. Smith, Lost in Space. He didn't get either, but it didn't matter. Carroll O'Connor went from unknown teacher to noted actor by 1970. Carroll O'Connor never imagined becoming a TV icon. In 1968, he played loudmouthed bigot Archie in Justice for All, a pilot. Network rejected it. Another pilot arrived in 1969. Those were days. Same result. Regardless, O'Connor disliked the script. He assured producer Norman Lear he'd change it. Should Lear dislike it, he can locate another actor. No one predicted the show's survival. ABC passed. O'Connor went to Europe. CBS unexpectedly took it up in 1970. They renamed Whole Family. O'Connor was called. He returned. It broadcast in January 1971. Ratings started slowly but quickly. It burst. It topped the American charts for 5 years. Not simply the insults or shouting made Archie Bunker fascinating, it was the underlying ache. Carroll O'Connor enriched the character. He was more than enraged. He was confused, afraid of change, and trying to grasp onto a dying environment. O'Connor said Archie's problem is adapting to a changing world. His duality made spectators love and despise him. Archie yelled obscenities and cried during a funeral. His TV Guide lifetime ranking was 5th in 1999. He was number 1 in 2005, ahead of Lucy and Homer Simpson. The show was risky. It included abortion, homosexuality, racism, Vietnam, menopause, and impotence. Archie mispronounced everything, called everyone colored, and said worse. Television had never shown anything like that. Even so, America watched. After season 1, it was the most watched show nationwide. Not simply on screen, O'Connor was audacious. CBS technicians went on strike in 1972. Carroll declined to cross pickets. He stopped production. Lifelong trade unionist, he said, "I cannot work with strikebreakers." The network panicked, but he persisted. The strike lasted nearly 2 months. After it ended, he returned on his terms. O'Connor and Norman Lear split wider that year. They fought over screenplays, comedy, and direction. O'Connor believed Lear doubted him. Lear thought O'Connor was constantly sad. Every script reading began with a complaint. Not working. Sometimes he was right. Fear sometimes came, but tension fostered genius. They reinstated O'Connor after he missed 3 episodes in season 5. They had to. Without him, the show would fail. Carroll O'Connor demanded much in 1977. No more live audiences or play taping. He wanted film and power. Working with film is 80% less stressful, he said. Despite the big adjustment, producers caved. He became one of the most revered actors of his day with that much force. At the 30th Annual Emmy Awards in 1979, he received his 4th Emmy for Best Actor in a Comedy Series. He defeated Alan Alda, Hal Linden, John Ritter, and Henry Winkler. In his victory speech, O'Connor modestly stated that his former wins were the reason for this Emmy, and that he couldn't win without them. This is even more surprising since O'Connor anticipated the show would fail. He requested a return ticket to Rome in his contract, planning to return to Italy if it failed. Instead, All in the Family topped the ratings for 5 years. As Archie Bunker, O'Connor was forever remembered. As time went on, actor and character blurred. Carroll O'Connor wasn't Archie. People couldn't separate his teaching, writing, and liberal views. Strangers said, "Hey, Archie on the street." CBS published advertising with his photo, but not his name. It affected him. He stated people are forgetting Carroll O'Connor. He never hated the character. He said meeting him would make him like him. He felt sad for him. One last peace sign between Lear and O'Connor. After many arguments and creative problems, Lear wrote him a letter. A visitor to O'Connor's home years later found only that letter on his desk. No trophies, scripts, just that letter. Proof that even difficult partnerships can end respectfully. Carroll O'Connor never recovered from 1961's loss. A motorbike accident on a rainy road killed his younger brother Hugh. Just as Carroll's acting career was advancing, the pain was permanent. Carroll and his wife named their 1962 Rome adoption son, Hugh, to honor their sibling. Not simply a tribute, but a friendship. The All in the Family filming included Carroll keeping his brother's old leather jacket and medical textbooks in his dressing room. Carroll and his wife adopted Hugh O'Connor at 6 days old. Carroll was filming Cleopatra in Rome with Elizabeth Taylor and Turmoil, but nothing beat holding his son. This event changed everything after years of infertility. 3 days off filming to be with his son. It started something lovely and tragic. When Hugh turned 16, everything changed again. His diagnosis was Hodgkin's lymphoma. Treatments were harsh. 28 chemo treatments, 2 surgeries. Pain was excruciating. After taking strong medicines, he started smoking pot to ease his nausea. The first symptom of trouble. It went beyond medications. Hugh used cocaine at 18. Carroll tried 8 rehabs in 10 years, but failed. Even casting Hugh in his TV show at night and transferring production to Georgia didn't help. Drugs were on set and everywhere else. Carroll struggled with his health while saving his son. A standard checkup was done in 1989. Doctors noticed his heart was unhealthy. The next day, he had emergency heart bypass surgery. Complications followed. A second surgery was needed 10 days later due to gallbladder inflammation. He spent weeks rehabilitating, quit smoking 2 packs a day, and became slimmer but determined. To help his father, Hugh stayed sober. It didn't last. Carroll needed surgery again in 1998 to avert a stroke. Carroll helped others despite his own collapse. Carroll worked hard to safeguard his co-star Howard Rollins, who was also addicted. He demanded on-site therapy from the studio and funded a hotline for struggling actors and staff. Rollins skipped work, so Carroll pushed to keep him on the show. He lived addiction with his son and realized it wasn't willpower. In 1988, remade himself on screen. He changed his name to Police Chief Bill Gillespie, a Southern lawman in a racially charged community. Carroll's second career and chance to play a changeable guy were granted. Mr. Gillespie was flawed. He was imperfect, stubborn, and slow to change. But he changed. The character was molded over 8 seasons and 147 episodes to confront injustice and his own bias. He also built something secretly. Carroll recovered from surgery.